There are moments in life that seem so normal, so harmless, that you never imagine they could change the course of everything you know. But sometimes, fate hides its biggest twists behind the most ordinary beginnings. This is the unbelievable story of two women, two strangers, whose lives were quietly switched before they even took their first steps. For 35 years, they lived in separate homes with separate families, never knowing that the people who raised them were not their real parents. And when the truth finally surfaced, it shattered everything. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because what you're about to hear will make you question what truly defines family: blood or love. It was a cold October evening in 1990, in a small Austrian town called Feldheim, surrounded by misty mountains and sleepy farmland. The hospital there wasn't large, just a few rooms, some tired nurses, and the constant echo of crying newborns. That night, two baby girls entered the world only minutes apart. One of them was born to Evelyn and Josef Grunhardt, a kind and quiet couple who had been waiting for years to have a child. The other baby belonged to Monica and Peter Darlan, a young pair who were terrified but thrilled to be parents for the first time. Both girls were premature, tiny, fragile, their cries soft but persistent. The doctors placed them in warm incubators side by side, just two tiny bundles of life, innocent and unaware that destiny was already playing its cruel game. The night was chaotic. Another birth had complications. One nurse fainted from exhaustion, and the head nurse had to manage 3 rooms at once. Between the rush of paperwork, the cries, and the beeping of machines, the two baby girls' identification tags, those thin little bands that carried their names, got mixed up. It happened in seconds, unnoticed, and by morning the babies were placed in their mother's arms, each one holding the other's child. Evelyn looked down at the little girl wrapped in a soft pink blanket. "She's perfect," she whispered to Josef, her eyes filled with tears of joy, not knowing that the child she loved instantly wasn't biologically hers. Across the hallway, Monica was doing the same, smiling through exhaustion, whispering, "You're our little miracle, our sweet Anna." The name Anna stayed. The other baby was named Lena, 2 innocent names, 2 switched lives. Years passed. The girls grew up in completely different worlds. Lena Grunhardt, the one raised by Evelyn and Josef, grew up in a small, modest home near the countryside. She loved the outdoors, collecting wildflowers and painting on old pieces of cardboard. Her parents adored her. They called her our sunshine. Anna Darlan, on the other hand, was raised in the city. Her parents ran a bakery, and every morning she'd wake up to the smell of fresh bread and cinnamon rolls. She was curious, ambitious, and full of energy. The two girls never met, but in some strange twist of fate, they both shared a love for the same things: music, the color yellow, and a stubborn sense of independence. It was as if something deep within them, something beyond blood, was still connected. Fast forward to 2012, Lena was 21. She had just started university and was volunteering at a local blood donation drive. She'd done it before, no big deal. But this time, something unexpected happened. After donating, one of the staff members approached her with a confused look. "Miss Grunhardt, are you sure this is your blood form? The records don't match your family medical data." Lena laughed awkwardly. There must be a mistake. But the nurse shook her head. Her blood type didn't match either of her parents. At first, she thought it was an administrative error. Then she asked her mother, Evelyn looked puzzled too, but when they checked old hospital papers, dates and birth certificates, little things started to feel off. The hospital record had an ink correction, a name rewritten, a smudge near the birth number. And suddenly, that small doubt grew into a haunting question. What if I'm not who I think I am? Meanwhile, across the country, Anna was living her own story. She was 21 as well, recently married and pregnant with her first child. During her first prenatal checkup, her doctor casually mentioned something strange. "Anna, your blood type doesn't match either of your parents. Are you sure you're not adopted?" She laughed it off. But when the doctor looked serious, she felt the ground slip beneath her. Her parents were as shocked as she was. They insisted there had to be a mistake. But the doctor hesitated, then said softly, "There was a case years ago, a mix-up in a hospital in Feldheim. It was never fully solved." Anna froze. Her parents stared at each other, pale and silent. The word mix-up echoed in her head like thunder. That night, she couldn't sleep. She sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, searching for anything related to that old hospital case. And then, there it was. An old article mentioning a woman named Lena Grunhardt, who had recently discovered her blood type didn't match her parents. Anna's hands trembled. She found Lena's name on Facebook, a simple profile photo smiling in a yellow dress. For a moment, she just stared. Then she took a deep breath and sent a message. "Hi, I know this might sound strange, but I think we need to talk." Lena saw the message the next morning. At first, she thought it was spam, but something about the tone felt genuine. She clicked on the profile and froze. Anna looked like her. Not exactly, but enough to make her heart race. The same eyes, the same faint dimple, the same soft curve of the smile. They started chatting, at first cautiously, asking about hospitals, birthdays, details. Then the pieces began to fit. Same date, same hospital, same doctor. Lena's heart pounded. This couldn't be real. And yet, it all made sense. Days later, they agreed to meet in person, both nervous, both scared, both carrying questions that could rewrite their entire lives. The meeting took place in a small cafe near Graz. When Lena walked in, she instantly recognized Anna, even though she had never seen her before. It felt like looking into a mirror from a parallel world. For a few seconds, they just stared at each other, no words. Then they smiled, and both began to cry. "I can't believe this," Lena whispered. Anna nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I feel like I've known you forever." And in that moment, 35 years of separation melted away. It was as if their souls recognized what reality had denied them. They spent hours talking about their families, childhoods, and strange little coincidences that now made perfect sense. Both had felt, in different ways, that something was missing growing up. A strange disconnect they couldn't explain. And now, the truth was finally here. A few weeks later, both families agreed to meet. It was emotional, painful even. Evelyn and Joseph, who had raised Lena all their lives, felt torn between joy and heartbreak. Monica and Peter, who had loved Anna as their own, struggled with guilt and disbelief. But when the two mothers finally saw each other, they hugged, and both cried for a long time. No one blamed anyone. It was an accident, a human mistake that had changed 4 lives forever. The hospital eventually confirmed the truth through DNA tests and records, and an official apology followed. But no apology could undo 35 years of lost moments. Still, something beautiful began to grow out of the tragedy. The two families started spending time together, dinners, birthdays, even holidays. They laughed about how similar the girls were, how both loved singing in the shower, how they had the same allergy to strawberries. It was as if fate had decided, you may have been separated, but your connection will always find a way. And so it did. For the first time in decades, the truth set them free. Lena once said in an interview, "When I met Anna, I didn't just find my biological sister, I found a part of myself I didn't know was missing." But their journey was far from over, because while forgiveness was easy to say, living with the truth would prove to be something else entirely. In the days following that emotional reunion, both families tried to make sense of what had happened. For years, their worlds had been completely separate. And now, fate had stitched them together in a way none of them could have imagined. At first, everyone was polite. They spoke kindly, exchanged stories, shared photos of birthdays, holidays, and little moments from the past. It was touching, but underneath that warmth, there was something heavy, something unspoken. Lena's parents, Evelyn and Joseph, couldn't stop thinking about how they had unknowingly raised another couple's child. At night, Evelyn would sit in the living room, staring at old baby photos. She'd trace her fingers over Lena's smiling face and whisper, "You'll always be mine." Then she'd wipe her tears quickly before Joseph saw. Across town, Monica and Peter felt the same pain. They looked at Anna, now pregnant, and wondered how life might have been if things had been different. Peter often said quietly, "We gained a daughter we love more than life, but lost one we never got to know." When the DNA results arrived officially, the truth was undeniable. The hospital apologized, admitting the switch had likely occurred in the nursery that first night. They even sent representatives to meet both families, trying to explain how such a thing could have happened. But no explanation was enough. No amount of sorry could return 35 stolen years. Still, both families agreed. They didn't want hate. They wanted healing, and so they began to visit each other regularly. The first few meetings were filled with laughter and cautious curiosity. Anna and Lena would sit together for hours comparing memories. They discovered they had the same taste in music, the same way of laughing when something truly amused them, even the same habit of biting their lips when they were nervous. It was uncanny, almost eerie. But slowly, that eeriness turned into comfort. They began to feel like sisters, two souls that had been separated but finally found their way home. One evening, Lena visited Anna's parents for dinner. She brought a small bouquet of daisies, Anna's mother's favorite. When Monica opened the door, she froze for a moment. It was like seeing a ghost. Lena's eyes, her smile, even the way she said hello. It was all so familiar. Monica hugged her tightly, longer than she intended. For a moment, she forgot about the world around them. "I've dreamed about this," she whispered. And Lena, feeling that motherly warmth, couldn't help but cry. Later that night, Anna told her husband, "I can't imagine what my parents are feeling. They love me, but seeing Lena must be like seeing the daughter they never raised." He held her hand gently and said, "Maybe this is your chance to heal together." Anna wanted to believe that, but deep down, she feared something. She feared that the more Lena and her parents grew closer, the more she might lose her place in their hearts. Across the city, Evelyn was struggling too. She tried to stay strong, to remind herself that biology didn't matter. But every time she saw Anna, she felt an ache she couldn't name. Anna looked like her. Same eyes, same quiet smile. When Anna laughed, it was like hearing her own younger voice echo back. Sometimes, Evelyn found herself staring at old family videos, her heart breaking at the thought that her real daughter had grown up somewhere else, without her lullabies, her hugs, her bedtime stories. Joseph noticed her sadness. One night, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, he said softly, "Evie, love isn't measured by DNA. You raised Lena with every beat of your heart. That's what makes her your daughter." She smiled faintly, but tears still filled her eyes. "I know, but still, when I look at Anna, it's like a piece of me recognizes her. Like my soul knows her." Joseph reached out and held her hand. "Maybe that's the beauty in all this. We didn't lose one daughter. We gained two." Meanwhile, the hospital's mistake had become public. A local newspaper ran a story about the switched at birth case, and soon journalists began contacting the families. Cameras showed up at their doorsteps, reporters eager for interviews. Anna hated the attention. She didn't want her child to grow up being part of a headline. Lena, on the other hand, felt that telling their story might help others. She believed that sharing the pain could turn it into something meaningful, and so they agreed to do one televised interview together. The day of the interview, the two women sat side by side under bright studio lights. They looked nervous but calm. When the host asked them what they felt when they discovered the truth, Lena answered first. "At first, I was angry. I thought my life was a lie, but then I realized it wasn't. The people who raised me gave me love. That's real. That can't be taken away." Anna nodded slowly. "I don't blame anyone. Mistakes happen. I just hope people understand that family isn't always about who you come from. It's about who stands beside you." The studio went silent. Even the host seemed moved. After the interview aired, messages flooded in from viewers all over the country. People shared their own stories of adoption, lost siblings, and second chances. Both women received letters from strangers saying their story gave them hope. For the first time, the pain began to feel lighter, like it had finally found a purpose. But just as everything started to settle, something unexpected happened. A few months later, Lena's health began to decline. It started with headaches, then fatigue, then fainting spells. Doctors ran tests, but the results were unclear. Her parents, Evelyn and Joseph, were terrified. And though Anna wasn't biologically connected to them, she stayed by their side through every appointment, every sleepless night. Then one day, the doctors called both families in for a meeting. The results showed a rare blood disorder, one that might require a genetic match for treatment. The only person who could possibly help was Anna. Without hesitation, Anna agreed to be tested. When the results came back, the doctor smiled. "You're a perfect match." Both families cried. Anna squeezed Lena's hand and whispered, "See? Maybe fate made this mistake, so that I could save you one day." The treatment worked. Lena's health slowly improved, and the bond between the two women became stronger than ever. They often joked that even science couldn't deny what fate had planned. One evening, months later, they sat together on the porch of the Grunhart home. The sunset painted the sky orange and gold. Lena looked at Anna and said quietly, "I used to wonder why this happened to us. But now I think maybe it wasn't a mistake after all." Anna tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "Because if it hadn't, we might never have met. And I can't imagine my life without you." Anna smiled. "Me neither." In that golden silence, surrounded by two families who had once been strangers, something beautiful had taken root. Forgiveness, understanding, and love. Bigger than biology, deeper than blood. Years later, Lena would tell her daughter this story. She'd say, "Sometimes life mixes things up on purpose. Because through the confusion, we find the people who are truly meant to be ours." And so, two girls who were once switched by accident ended up discovering the truest form of family, not defined by birth, but by the hearts that refused to let go. The months that followed felt like a storm, quiet on the surface, but full of thunder underneath. Both families had begun to live side by side, sharing dinners, laughter, and birthdays. Yet behind those smiles, something darker was growing. Questions, doubts, regrets. No one dared to say it out loud, but everyone thought it. Should someone be held responsible? Should the hospital that caused this mix-up pay for what had been lost? It was Evelyn who finally spoke first. She had spent sleepless nights staring at Lena's old baby blanket, the one she had kept for years. One morning, she looked at Joseph and whispered, "We can forgive them. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. They need to understand what they took from us." Joseph hesitated. He didn't like confrontation, but deep down he knew she was right. They had to do something. Not for revenge, but for closure. Around the same time, Monica was having the same conversation at her kitchen table. Peter was silent, stirring his coffee for far too long. Finally, she said softly, 35 years. That's what we lost. 35 years with the daughter I never got to hold. How do you even measure that? Peter sighed. We can't change the past. But maybe we can make sure no one else suffers like this again. Monica nodded. Her hands were shaking. I want someone to say it matters. That our pain matters. Soon. Both families met at a small cafe, neutral ground. The air was thick with tension and unspoken fear. Lena and Anna sat together, their hands clasped tightly on the table. Evelyn looked at Monica across the table and said quietly, I don't want to fight you. You're a good mother, but we both lost something that night. Monica's eyes filled with tears. I know. And I don't blame you, but I can't stop thinking about the moments that were stolen from us. That's when Joseph placed a folder on the table. Inside were documents, a lawyer's card, letters, and hospital reports. He said, We've spoken to someone. He thinks we have a case. Anna and Lena exchanged uneasy glances. They didn't want to see their parents in a courtroom, but they also understood their families deserved answers. And so, with heavy hearts, they agreed to move forward. The process was long and exhausting. Meetings, legal paperwork, interviews with journalists. Some nights, Lena would cry herself to sleep, feeling torn between gratitude and anger. She didn't want money. She just wanted peace. Anna, now a new mother, struggled too. She wanted to protect her child from the chaos, but the media wouldn't stop calling. Headlines read, Switched at birth, families seek justice after 35 years. Everywhere they went, people whispered, strangers stared, and the weight of being the switched babies became heavier than ever. One evening, after a particularly rough day, Lena recorded a short video on her phone. Her eyes were tired, her voice calm but trembling. She said, I know people are curious about our story, but please remember, we're not a headline. We're human. We're just trying to heal. The clip spread online. People shared it, left supportive comments, and sent messages of love. It was overwhelming, but also comforting. For the first time, Lena and Anna realized their story wasn't just about pain. It was about strength. Before we go on, if you're watching this story right now, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because what comes next shows how far love can carry a family, even through the darkest parts of truth. Weeks later, the case finally reached court. The hospital's representatives sat nervously as both families entered the courtroom. The air was cold, heavy with emotion. Reporters filled the benches, cameras ready. The judge listened as the lawyers described the events, the switched bracelets, the missing records, the emotional toll. Then Evelyn took the stand. Her voice was soft but steady. I'm not here for money, she said. I'm here because I want to make sure no other mother ever looks into her child's eyes and wonders if she's truly hers. The courtroom went silent. Even the judge paused before nodding solemnly. Then Monica spoke. She didn't cry, though her voice shook. I forgave the people who made the mistake, she said, but forgiveness means change. And I won't rest until hospitals learn from this. By the end of the trial, the judge ruled in favor of both families. The hospital was ordered to compensate them and issue a public apology. More importantly, new protocols were introduced across Austria to ensure no such mistake could happen again. It wasn't justice in the traditional sense, but it was something. A beginning. After the ruling, both families walked out of the courthouse together. There were cameras, flashes, microphones. But Lena and Anna ignored them. They just held hands and smiled, because for them, this wasn't about winning. It was about healing. Later that night, the families gathered for dinner at the same cafe where they had once argued. Now, laughter filled the air again. Joseph made a toast. To truth, he said, raising his glass. and to the family we found in the most unexpected way. Everyone clinked glasses. Even little baby Clara, Anna's daughter, laughed from her high chair, her tiny hands reaching toward the table. Evelyn smiled and whispered to Monica, "Maybe she's the reason all this happened. Maybe our daughters had to meet so this little one could bring us all together." Monica nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. Maybe fate knew exactly what it was doing. Outside, the night sky was clear and full of stars, the same stars that had watched over two newborns 35 years ago, now shining down on the family they had created together. Lena looked up and thought about everything they had been through, the loss, the pain, the confusion, and how somehow it had all led them here, to peace, to love, to belonging. She smiled and whispered under her breath, "Some stories don't end in tragedy. Some end in understanding." And in that moment, she knew, even though life had once switched their paths, it had also led them exactly where they were meant to be. Months had passed since the courtroom battle, and slowly life began to settle into a new rhythm, one that neither family could have imagined 35 years ago. Lena and Anna had grown inseparable. They spoke on the phone every day, sharing even the smallest details of their lives. Sometimes they would laugh about coincidences, sometimes they cried about lost moments. But above all, they were grateful for each other, and for the families that had raised them with so much love. One afternoon, Anna called Lena with an idea. "Why don't we write everything down?" she said. "Not just for us, but for everyone who might need to hear it. The story of two girls, switched at birth, and how we found each other." Lena hesitated. She wasn't sure she was ready to relive the past. But she also knew that if anyone could turn pain into hope, it was them. They started gathering memories, old photos from baby albums, letters that had been tucked away for decades, and even messages from the hospital and their lawyers. Each item was a piece of the puzzle, sometimes heartbreaking, sometimes heartwarming. As they compiled the story, Lena discovered little things she had never noticed before. Her love of music wasn't just a coincidence, it matched Anna's perfectly. Her fascination with drawing had a counterpart in Anna's own secret sketches as a child. Even the way she laughed had a familiar rhythm that echoed Anna's. Writing the book became a journey of discovery, not just about their past, but about who they truly were. Anna included letters she had written to her parents when she was a child, never knowing why she sometimes felt a strange emptiness. Lena added stories of family dinners, walks in the countryside, and quiet moments with her parents full of love and warmth. It was more than a story, it was a bridge between two worlds. As the book neared completion, the families planned a celebration. They invited close friends, distant relatives, and even the doctors and nurses who had cared for them 35 years ago. It was a chance not only to honor the past, but to embrace the future. The day of the celebration arrived, warm and golden under the autumn sun. Lena and Anna walked into the hall together, hand in hand, both glowing with pride and gratitude. The room was filled with laughter, tears, and stories. The parents hugged, sometimes letting go reluctantly, afraid of losing the moment even for a second. The families shared food, music, and memories that had once seemed lost forever. At one point, Lena looked around and whispered to Anna, "Can you believe it? After everything, we're actually here." Together, Anna smiled. "Yes, and we'll stay together, always." Later that evening, Lena and Anna stood outside, looking at the stars. It was the same sky they had both been born under, each in a different cradle, 35 years ago. "I used to wonder why this happened to us," Lena said. Anna nodded. "I thought it was a mistake, a cruel twist of fate." "But maybe," Lena said, her eyes shining, "it wasn't a mistake at all. Maybe it was meant to bring us together, to create something bigger than either of us alone." They laughed softly, holding each other close, feeling the weight of the past lift. From that day on, the two families became one. They celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays together. They shared secrets, jokes, and quiet afternoons filled with simple joy. And for Lena and Anna, the bond they had discovered was unshakable. A bond that went beyond blood, beyond biology, beyond time itself. Years later, Lena's daughter would ask her, "Mum, what makes a family?" Lena would smile and squeeze her hand. "Family isn't just who you come from," she said. "It's who stands beside you when the world feels impossible. It's the people who never let you go, even when life tries to pull you apart." Anna echoed the same thought when her child asked, "You can't choose the family you're born into, but you can choose the family you keep close to your heart." And in that quiet truth, both women realized something profound. Life had given them a second chance, a chance to rewrite their story with love, forgiveness, and hope. No regrets, no bitterness, only understanding. The stars above Feldheim twinkled as if celebrating with them. Two girls, switched at birth, had found each other after decades of uncertainty. And in doing so, they had discovered the meaning of family, connection, and destiny itself. Sometimes life doesn't follow the plan we imagine. Sometimes it takes detours, mistakes, and heartbreaks to guide us to where we truly belong. Lena and Anna's story is proof that even in the darkest moments, hope can shine, bonds can endure, and love, true love, can heal generations. And that's the story of two sisters, two families, and a journey that no one could have predicted, but everyone will remember. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.